This is the Highly Sensitive Person Podcast, a weekly podcast for people who experience the world brighter, louder, and more intensely. Join me on a journey of acceptance of our highly sensitive person traits. Hey there, welcome to episode 44. I'm your host, Kelly. This episode is part 2 of a 2-part series. Last week, I talked about the challenges of being a male, highly sensitive person. And today, I'm going to talk about how to deal with those challenges, as well as some of the positives of being a highly sensitive man. And while these shows were intended to be about men in particular, I found that much of this information could apply to all HSPs. Did you know that men and women are equally highly sensitive? The trait is not more common in women, as is often initially thought. Last week, we found that some highly sensitive men try to hide their feelings. They avoid situations where they know they might get emotional and others might see that. They may also keep small social circles and avoid getting too close to people. They may not fit into our competitive, violent, overstimulating world. So after hearing about these challenges, I asked these men, how do you deal? Chris, who's in his 20s, said, I've dealt with these difficulties by focusing on self-love, appreciation, and acceptance. I love myself the way I am, and I try to change my environment to fit my needs, which could include the people I socialize with, the places I go, and how I spend my time. It still hurts when I meet someone who thinks I'm flawed for being sensitive, but it's just their opinion. It doesn't mean that they're right. And even if it is a flaw, all humans have quirks and flaws that make them unique. It's nothing to be ashamed about. Chris also says that he thinks that society's views have changed over the years. It seems that people are more accepting of the idea that both men and women have feelings, and it's okay for everyone to be gentle and compassionate. Llewellyn, a British man in his 20s, also says that having accepting friends can make a big difference. He said, I have managed to isolate myself from the opinions of strangers. Understanding friends and my pursuit of my creative hobbies have helped me see my high sensitivity as a blessing rather than a burden. This leads me to the positives and the benefits of being a highly sensitive man. Stephen, who's in his 30s, said, if an HSP can turn their insecurity about being sensitive into something empowering, it can allow them to initiate and drive more intimate relationships with others, especially masculine relationships. Peter, who's in his 50s, had a similar comment. He says that he's found that he's a great friend to other men. He explains how in female relationships, women are more socially permitted to talk about their emotions and feelings right out of the gate, whereas male relationships are more based around shared interests and they don't talk about emotions and feelings as much. Because of his nature, Peter finds himself sought out by other men for friendship, for encouragement, and advice. Matthew, who's in his 40s, says, I occasionally have moments of positive emotional overwhelm, even euphoria, microbursts of being or feeling incredibly high and joyful. And then he says, I would not want to change who I am or how intensely I experience things. Even a sunset can trigger an intense rush of positive feelings. Dr. Ted Zeff writes a lot about high sensitivity, and he has studied men in particular. In his studies, he wrote that many men explained how their intuition, creativity, and ability to notice subtleties in their environment helped strengthen their relationships, helped them succeed in work, and deeply enjoy music and art projects. To give you some examples, he said that one man noticed that his sensitive tactile sense gave him an advantage when landing a plane, driving, and doing tasks that required refined movement and dexterity. Another man shared that his increased awareness helps him fix things before they become a problem, from hearing poor bearings on his vehicles to smelling small gas leaks. I'll have a link to Ted Zeff's article on Dr. Elaine Aron's website about highly sensitive men in the show notes at highlysensitiveperson.net/episode 44. A couple weeks ago, there was an article about HSPs in the Wall Street Journal. In it, they interviewed a former engineer for NASA named Michael Hassard. And some of the things he said illustrate the struggles and benefits of being a highly sensitive man. I'm going to read a couple paragraphs from the Wall Street Journal article. The article says, Michael has sometimes noticed that women he's dated have become uncomfortable when he is more emotional than they are. Nobody loves a crybaby, he says. And he has learned to see advantages in being so sensitive. He feels he is a better father because he can better empathize with his children. And he says he recently saved a multi-million-dollar deal at work because he was the only one on his 12-member team who picked up on a client's apprehension, enabling the group to address it. Mr. Hassard's girlfriend, a surgical nurse, says that although his wear-it-on-his-sleeve emotions have taken some time to get used to, she now loves how sensitive he is. Stoic has its place, she says, but engaging, thoughtful conversation about things that matter with someone who feels and isn't afraid to show it is a welcome and unexpected change from the norm. End quote. The most important thing for men who might be struggling with their sensitivity is to simply accept yourself and stop forcing yourself to act a way that isn't you. Let yourself feel your sensitivity without holding back and see how that feels. By embracing your sensitivity, you can become a full person, not someone hiding half of your true self. You might discover benefits to your sensitivity that you didn't realize. Thank you to Peter, Freddie, Matthew, Chris, Stephen, and Llewellyn for helping me with this episode. Are you a highly sensitive man? What did you think of all this? Leave me a comment in the show notes at highlysensitiveperson.net/episode 44. And I have an exciting announcement. Well, exciting for me. This podcast is now available for support on Patreon. Patreon is kind of like Kickstarter, but for ongoing projects. I've had so many people contact me telling me that this podcast has affected them, it's made a difference in their lives, and that's amazing. Some people have even asked me how they can support the show. So just go to patreon.com/HSP, and you can decide to give a certain amount of money per episode, and you're only charged when a new episode comes out. It really makes a big difference, even just $1 an episode. You can cancel anytime you want. It's totally safe and legit. And there are different levels of support that have rewards. They can get you mentioned on the show, a handwritten thank you card, or a copy of my book. Receiving support will allow me to continue to put in the time to research, record, edit, and host these shows. I hate asking for money, but I hope you see it as a way to support something that entertains you or informs you, or maybe has even helped you. If you're interested, go to patreon.com/HSP and check it out. It's totally optional. This podcast and the blog content are still free as always. So that's it. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate your time. Have a great week.